I'll tell you. Okay. It's a trial run through of the first quantum mentor interview. How do you feel
Wow.
that you were the first quantum mentor to say, I'm ready?
It's surprising to
What?
me. Mentored or both?
Oh, your voice is cutting out now.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Um, okay. What you hear me now? Is it good?
It's a little better now, yeah.
Okay. Are you yeah. So I feel very surprised that I'm the first, and I'm wondering if I am mentoring or being mentored.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I
Or
think it's
both.
both.
Go ahead.
I said I think it's both, which is what makes it so fun.
Hmm. Oh, good.
Because I came up with that new tagline recently about when students are ready to become teachers. So it's like
Yeah.
you may not call yourself a teacher all the time, but I'm
Hmm.
sure in some ways you do, right?
Yeah.
What ways do you already call yourself a teacher?
Well, teaching and learning are the same thing in a way. They're just two sides of the same coin.
So you know you've learned it when you can teach it, so to say.
Yeah, like you have to like talk. Well, it depends on what you're learning, but like I often try to think like, how would I explain this to somebody? And usually, when you have a real person to explain it to you, they can ask you questions that you wouldn't have thought of, helping you think it through better. So you're learning more.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly.
but it all depends on what you're working on, I guess.
Yeah. So do you have any situations now where you're doing teaching, like at the farm, like training?
No, I mean, I am very much just it's just me and Chesley farming basically. Like we're not bringing anyone to help very, significantly anyways, but it's just learning from experience. It's like every day there's all sorts of things that go as planned and not as planned, and it's just like feeling things out and thinking things through and just trying to figure it out. All the various farming challenges. Yeah.
So, am I right then if you were to maybe choose something that was the most exciting for you to teach, that it would be where philosophy crosses farming?
Where philosophy crosses. I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I would like to teach that. And even just like farming itself, because it's almost like if you just do the activity, whatever philosophy works for you will come to you. And I don't know what that is for other people. Like I don't even know what that is for myself, because your philosophy of life will self-correct as you bash yourself into life.
That was
And
beautiful.
so the
Punch.
more you are just out there doing stuff and facing problems with your face, the faster you will learn them. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
So if you had 1 hour, like say you were gonna do a webinar or a group class or a one-on-one class, like however it would look, if you had 1 hour, what do you think
Mhm.
you could teach when it comes to like what you've been learning lately in the farm?
Like if I had an hour with people on the internet, I would just try to show them what I'm doing, and hopefully they get inspired to engage in it themselves in whatever way makes sense to them in their situation.
Do you think there's a lesson that you learned recently though that might? encapsulate what you're doing lately?
I mean, the only think I can think of just off the top of my head is just what I was thinking is like you learn best by doing and through activity and just like the process of like
Mm.
um being in the world doing whatever it is your heart desires. Like for me, it's basically gardening and this kind of lifestyle generally, and just like facing the problems that you face, having the challenges, like things not working out the way you thought, and then just every evening you just like go home and you're like, all right, like I got really upset because this thing didn't work, but really it wasn't a problem with a thing. It was something I wasn't doing optimally. Like, so let's see, how can I not start rambling? It's just like you need real life to direct your experiences and just repetitions of like being out in the world in activity and then going back inside, at night or whatever that later and reflecting on your experiences and like, okay, so that was the result of my actions and behaviors and habits. Um, if I didn't like that, how can I change my actions and behaviors and habits to get the results I want? So it would be something about like not having a victim mentality, but having like a you are the captain of your own ship mentality, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I think of like what problems I face regularly with my
Yeah.
business, what comes to mind is like
Yeah.
overwhelm and overwork
Yeah.
and burnout. And that's one
Yeah.
of those things that sometimes it's hard to pull back, especially when you're doing something you love. Sometimes there's a reason why you're in more of like a fight or flight mode, not in like a calling, answering a calling mode. And I know farming
Yeah.
has quite a reputation for overwork, and that's why people use machines now.
Yeah.
So I wonder how you relate to overwhelm, overwork, and those kind of problems.
Yeah. I definitely feel it a lot and like often, but it's like I guess my efforts these days is to manage my relationship with that because like, it's May, it's spring. I'm like planting onions right now, and I've been planting onions for like a few days now. Uh, so like basically I'm taking I don't know if this will work, but like these little onion sets, they're like tiny little onions,
Cute.
right?
Yeah, like shallot.
And yeah, well, they're just like baby onions. Like they're going to be regular, like cooking onions. And I'm making holes in this mulch because I garden in mulch. That's my way of doing it. No till. And I shove the little onions in these holes. And it's like I could be out here bitching about how many onions I have to plant or like how long it takes, or I could be like enjoying it. And, generally through life, you'll go back and forth through those states of like bitching about the shitty situation you like have to be in because other people made you, or just like excited and enjoying the situation that like you got to choose as like a creator of your own destiny. So I don't know. I don't know if that was a question I was answering, but that's what I
Yeah.
said anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it reminds me of just the difference between complaining and being challenged. It's such a fine line.
Yeah.
It's more of like an energy behind it.
Yeah.
Because I never got the sense when you were talking about how you are planting onions all day and that's all you're doing all the time. I never got a sense that there was any complaining energy behind it. It sounds like there's a lot of passion behind it.
Yeah. But there's definitely like most days. there will be at least something that pisses me off or like works out poorly, and I'm challenged in like my efforts to keep the good vibes or the productive vibes, anyways.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. We like if you're not getting thrown off, then you haven't picked a very interesting challenge for yourself, and you probably could do better.
Well, is there anything else? What would you say that you'd rather be doing with your time? If there wasn't onions to plant, what would you be doing?
Nothing. This is what I want to be doing. Well, like I want to be gardening. Like sometimes gardening means like, oh, I gotta do the same job for a lot of hours, or it's like too sunny or too rainy or whatever. But it's like, am I like having to like tediously stick 10 billion of these little onions into the dirt? Which like, yeah, that sounds really tedious. Or am I like creating the best farm ever and like working directly with the earth to like figure out a better and more natural way of farming? And it's like I'm doing both.
Yeah, that reminds me, like, just from what my more limited understanding of the process, like, you generally have a production farm that does the same plant, like one crop, right, in one area, and then it's different, usually different than permaculture to be planting one thing or working on one plant. But I know that you're more permaculture minded, so what is your long-term plan to kind of have more diversity?
Right. Well, let's see. I wonder if there's a button for me to turn around the camera for a bit. Um, because my face is surely very beautiful as the garden. I don't know. Okay, I can't find a video. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So maybe I'll walk you around a bit.
Okay.
Like, so I have a bunch of gardens. Like, this is where the onions are going. Like, I'm at this point, and like all the way back there has been planted with onions so far, and we have like a little bit left. So a lot of them are in. Um, and these beds are like not tilled, so we don't do any tilling. Uh, the last year at least, I haven't had to water anything outside of in the greenhouse. So the whole not having to water thing is is kicking in over time as the soil and my gardening skills are, honing.
That is amazing. You're right.
And whenever I get the gardens right, which is like maybe half the time, getting just the way I like, just the way I hope, there's like basically no weeding. I can show you in the greenhouse for that. But before this is all comfrey. I don't know if you've heard of comfrey, but
Yeah,
it's a beautiful plant, very medicinal. If this is on a recording, people who watch it can look it up on the internet. But we have like, there's like some young hazelnuts here, hazel trees, some, you know, an apple tree that died years ago, and a bunch of apple trees that died. And that's some of the things that don't make it. Um, I forget what these things are called, but they were cool. And there's just like tons of perennials mixed in. So like there's like a row of perennials like right next to the garden bed. So like there's like a permanent established ecosystem, even though the annuals bed is like not always having plants like when it's winter and stuff. The perennial bed always keeps it going because we do want to have like production. Like I really am trying to create like a farm that can feed people and not just like look cool on Instagram or like sound cool in words. Like I want to make like pounds and pounds of food. This greenhouse, which we just finished making this spring, is a cool example because half of it we planted before I put any mulch down, and you can see I don't know how clear it is on the camera or whatever, but like you can see all the weeds. Here there's like this is dill, that's like the crop, and then there's all the weeds in between it. But then just on the other side, look, there's like a little bit of this mulch, but look how there's like basically no weeds on it.
And
Like
that's
these,
because of the mulch?
yeah, like
Yeah,
you can kind of see it's a good example because it like transitions. Hopefully this is like clear on the camera and stuff.
yeah.
But like, so there's like cilantro and dill. These are
Mhm.
like the two crops that are here that like we're gonna harvest and eat. And there's like weeds, like this is lamb's quarter and bed straw. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know this was going here. Anyways, and like it just like as the area that we mulched shows up, there's like a few, and then it goes to like, yeah, no weeds. Like I planted these lettuces and these bok choy, and then I'll come and harvest them, and that's it, done. So it's like very efficient.
That is so cool. How many acres do you have there?
Um, the property is 25, but I probably have no more than 1 acre of like actual, maybe around 1 acre of actual vegetable gardens. Yeah. But like, yeah, I basically chose to uh feel things out and like ignore a lot of advice, even from like, permaculture and regenerative farmers or whatever, just because I wanted to like feel it directly. And like I wanted to know why any piece of advice was good or bad advice and if it made sense to me in my situation. So that made me have to do a lot of extra work because there was a lot of dumb things that I did. But now I know from direct experience, like what advice is good and what advice doesn't make sense.
Ooh, can you tell a little bit about what the bad advice that you maybe took?
Hmm.
What was bad advice
Let me
for
see if I
you?
can think about that. I don't know if I got an answer to that. I can't think of anything like that off the top of my head. Um, well, I mean, yeah, no, I can't. I can't think of a good example.
Okay. No, because
Well, I mean, like
that's
people say you can't. Like a lot of people who grow vegetables, like for the farmers market and stuff, don't use mulch like this,
yeah.
like because it's like a lot and it takes a lot of effort to put it down too. So
Hmm.
maybe you're like, well, it would just take less effort just to weed it by hand even than do all the mulching. But I don't know. I'm figuring everything out.
Yeah,
It's still very much a work in progress. So
that sounds like an investment in the future.
yeah.
So,
And Matsunobu Fukuoka. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
oh, no, you
Go
can
ahead. I was gonna say Matsunobu Fukuoka. If you remember that guy from
yeah.
One Straw Revolution,
Hmm.
he says something like, "Natural farming is not about the growing of crops, well, although it is. It's about the cultivation of the farmer." And I think that's really true.
Yeah. How have you been cultivated here on this land?
Well, like in a lot of ways, like just like the constant reality checks and like the diversity of effort and like just like the motivation to do lots of exercise and keep my body in decent shape, to like keep my mind thinking and like, you know, whenever I'm stoned and I'm not thinking that sharp, and then I like do stupid stuff and then I have to like fix problems or like just challenging me to be social because I have to like sell my vegetables. I can't just grow them. So I got to like meet with people and it's just life, it's just living life.
Yeah, you have to be clear, almost
Hmm.
in community and
Yeah.
interdependent. I imagine too, like you have a good balance with this kind of work over time with acting, but also letting go because there's so much you can't control.
No, there's always things happening outside.
Yeah.
I'm curious about you though. Like, can this be a two-way interview for a bit?
Yeah, sure. Do you have a
Like
question?
what? I guess I'm just curious what you're up to and what lessons you're going through in this world.
Yeah, I guess my big lesson right now is with fierce visibility.
Right. Okay.
Being able to be seen, which is a lot about being social, kind of like you said, uh,
Yeah.
networking, talking to people. Really, I think AI, in a strange way, helps me a lot with the words that I choose
Okay.
to explain what I do because it's very hard for me to translate sometimes, like what I do in a way that everyone else is going to understand, and it can be so confusing. And then I just put all my confused thoughts into AI, and it spits out exactly what I just said
Yeah.
back, except it makes sense, like it's simple. I'm just like,
Right. I
this
get it.
beautiful, and it helps me feel more confident about how I'm saying things when I put myself out there. Even though being vulnerable is a whole other aspect to it, and you really just have to jump off the cliff sometimes.
Yeah. You got to be willing to make those mistakes, huh?
Exactly. It's such a huge part
Hmm.
of the whole experience of mentoring, learning is just embracing the mistakes because a lot of people don't even set goals because they're afraid of the mistakes.
Yeah.
Even with music, that's such a great example. It's like I'm just always encouraging people to feel good when they make music and not worry about sounding good. You can always start to sound good later, but you have to
Hmm.
have something to start with. You have to have something that's inspiring you to like begin.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Because people usually feel that they sound bad no matter how skilled they are at music or whatever.
Yeah. Kind of like an imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Do you ever get the imposter syndrome where you wake up and you want to burn the whole farm down?
Yeah. I wonder, like, often, like, what am I doing? Should I just leave? Like, it would be so much easier.
That's, yeah, definitely an irony, right?
Yeah.
The things we love
Yeah.
most, sometimes we just want to walk away, but
Mhm.
it's more
Yeah.
about like reworking the identity. It's like I don't need to walk away from it. I need to walk away from the way I am looking at it.
Yeah. Right. The change of perspective.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What's this? You decided not to mulch this area? It's what's the difference with the cover there? Oh, you cut out. I'm not hearing you. Frozen. Let it go. You were frozen. Hello?
Hey, there you are.
You cut out.
Okay. I'll
Did
try walking towards the house where the internet's a bit better.
okay, did you hear what I asked about the that black cover that you use?
Oh, no, I didn't hear that at all.
I was asking how do you decide between using that and using the mulch?
Um, I'm still working on that, but I basically use both. Um, so the black cover is really nice to help like initially clear a new area and also like because it gets cold here.
Uh-oh.
So then in the spring I can like, oh, really?
Just a little cut.
Okay, it's not working.
It's in and out.
Did you hear? Okay. Um, did you hear any of that?
No.
No. Okay. Let me just, or I'll go to the house. Oh, hey, come on, Ollie, come on. Oh, Molly's friends across the fence. Okay. Sorry. Let me just run back to the house
Okay.
where there's some internet.
I think, just so you know, we might have only a few minutes left, like 5 to 10.
Okay,
I'll get a warning when it's almost over, but just so you know.
sure. Yeah, so the black plastic, we basically have the mulch going under it as well. Like it kind of depends. Like I got a few different beds and I'm always doing slightly different things just based on the situation. But I use both, I guess. That's like ideally I just pull up the black plastic in the spring and like the bed underneath is like ready to go for planting.
And then adding mulch.
Like the mulch, like usually, ideally I'll add mulch in the fall.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes when I didn't do that, I'll add it in the spring.
Oh, I see.
But I'm always tweaking the minor details, so it's not like it's like stagnant in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that flexibility is perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
So, just before we end, for sure, I want to ask you the like grant proposal, funding, say shopping spree questions. If you had $1,000, if you had $10,000, if you had $100,000, how would that change what you're able to do? Like what you're able to plant, what you're maybe even able to pay people to be there with you if that's what you want. How would that
Yeah.
change what you do?
I mean, part of me wants to say I would not have any way of using it because I like taking my time and building up things slowly. Um, although I guess if I just had someone give me a bunch of money and I was like highly encouraged to just spend it or lose it, I would probably build another greenhouse or two because those are really nice.
That
But
makes sense.
like I'm not in a rush. Like I'm just enjoying my time and like I basically find that I learn what I'm learning as I'm building up my ability to handle more resources. And if I had more resources than I have knowledge or wisdom to or skill to handle, then it would just be wasted.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of right where I want to be in a way.
There's nothing that you feel like you have knowledge about, like say I know there's some plants even that I know are like bigger cash crops that take more delicate things like I think we've talked about before like whether it's vanilla or like those more delicate things. Do you ever think about like lavender or vanilla or any other kind of diversified gardening choices?
Yeah, that's more Chesley's angle. She focuses on herbs and stuff and flowers and makes tinctures and medicines and salves and a variety of arts and crafts and things. And I mainly just focus on animals and vegetables, mainly vegetables, but I'm moving more and more into animals.
What
But
kind of animals?
well, we have the chickens, which maybe I'll show you another time. And we are scheming on getting sheep, which would be really great.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. We used to have rabbits too, but I got rid of those. Just had them for a few years.
And you don't have any kind of vision of more people, like friends or community or tiny homes or anything like that?
Yeah, we're working on that. We're, you connect with a lot of people at market, and our markets season just started. So I think this year we're going to really focus on having potlucks here every month, and that'll be like a chance to connect with a lot of people. Like we're inviting most of our CSA customers, like our close weekly customers, and whoever we like for market, and just whoever is our friend in general, or we want to invite, or because being out here, like you could really hermit out and like not see anybody.
Yeah, I bet.
Um, and you're busy, so it's hard to like find time to invite one person over or like one group over. So the potlucks is just like, okay, we'll just socialize with everybody once a month, and that'll keep us in the loop, in the and that's also kind of our opportunity to like start the idea of like doing workshops and classes like on the land and stuff, which we're just kind of starting to play with that.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the vision definitely grows with people that are able to contribute. So I can
Yeah.
see how the pace is really perfect for you where you're at because I also feel the same way. I don't want to grow very fast. I want to grow very slow and steady. And
Hmm.
sometimes there's this pull. I feel like it's the energy this year is kind of to take a quantum leap and not necessarily that it's because you have to have it or that you're prepared to receive it, but it's kind of like almost like destiny knocking on the door this year, sort of like
Yeah.
what is my biggest vision and what is the reality of it? Not the delusion of it. The delusion might be like a utopia, but the reality might be like slowly finding my people that I trust enough and love enough and they value this place enough that, they want to become a part of the family.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And it's like cool that you're initiating this group because that could be a big part of it too.
Yeah, definitely. It's a
Um,
worldwide community with some limitless potential for hopping around the world.
yeah, I think it's about time for a quantum leap. I think we're a little late actually.
But nature is a great example of it doesn't hurry, but everything's accomplished. So
Yeah.
you're definitely in a fine balance when it comes to those kind of visions. Like, what about fruit trees? You said some of them were not surviving where they were, but do you have any orchard, like designs on orchard, fruit tree kind of understory stuff? It looked like that's what you were going for over there.
Yeah, I've definitely tried a lot of things, but like um just in the name of focusing, I've sort of chosen to not put a lot of energy into that. I definitely have a lot of ideas and desires. Um yeah, like way too many to get into at the end of a conversation.
Okay, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's a good cliffhanger for next time we could meet in the future.
Sure, that sounds good.
And maybe that's
Yeah.
a sign too that potentially what you could do with the larger amount of money is
Yeah, sure.
find someone who's an expert with orchard and permaculture beginnings and someone that you really like and manifest that person is definitely the sign that there's something more to be done with that.
That's true. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Do you ever look for people like that? I know you admire a lot of things that people do in the world like that, but like Common Vision comes to mind out west.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of those guys. There's some cool orchard folks around these areas, like a few, maybe not a lot that I know personally, but there's definitely people doing that kind of stuff out here. There's this one guy in Quebec who is has a pretty cool orchard, and I think his farm is called Miracle Farm or something, and I can never remember his name because it's kind of a French name. Uh, but he's a French guy doing a permaculture orchard in Quebec. That would give you enough to Google him, anyways.
Yeah, cool. I always appreciate the people you share with me, like that Ruth Stout, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
I shared that with a, a woofing farm in Missouri that I do music workshops at and have had a relationship with a couple years. And we were doing their spring push volunteer weekend, and during
Yeah,
breakfast they ran out of potatoes, and they were all like, we need to make sure we have more potatoes next year, we need to buy more, and they don't have a lot of funding. And I just thought of Ruth Stout. And I sent
Yeah,
her the video and I said, think about this for next year. You'll have all the potatoes you need.
yeah. We did a big fat potato garden that we just planted like on earlier this week, just that exact way.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll see how it works. Yeah.
Ooh, cool.
Mhm.